This radio show is a paid placement. Welcome to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. I'm Mark Elliott. Mindy McIntosh is the founder and president of McIntosh and Associates. Mindy started the company back in 2004. Nolan McIntosh can help you with all of your market investments. Are you taking too much risk in your portfolio? Not enough risk, or the right amount for you? And that's probably one of the biggest questions going forward, is the amount of risk you're taking in your portfolio. Nolan and I are going to talk about that in our very final segment today, because it's really one of the challenges of retirement. We all think that our investments are our retirement plan. No, they're just a tool in your retirement plan. They're important, sure. But boy, you don't want to get into retirement. All of a sudden, another 2008 hits and you've lost 50% of your money. So if you have any questions about anything, can you retire? When can you retire? Will your money last as long as you do? Will your loved ones be okay if something happens to you? Feel free to call the team at McIntosh and Associates. There's no cost. There's no obligation for this call. 877-222-8849. 877-222-8849. You can always go to the website to find out more. A lot going on at McIntosh and Associates. You can keep up with them and learn about some of the topics that they discuss all the time right there on the website, wealthmichigan.com. Wealthmichigan.com. Mindy, what is on the website? What all do you have on? Do you have a picture of yourself? I know, because you're the leader. Nolan, do you put a picture up of him? Or do you
No,
say,
I don't. Usually they Photoshop me out of the pictures. So.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We have a lot of clients and folks in the area that like to visit the website. Anything that you're looking for as far as, what could a healthcare component look like for you? What does, an investment plan look like? Or, hey, if you walk into our door to the office, what kind of level of service could you expect? And kind of what is our process of, walking through some different, maybe a retirement or investment questions. Maybe it's healthcare or taxes. It might even be with regards to life insurance. So there's different webinars and videos on there. We have budget forms, because I know we're talking about inflation. So costs and cost of living is pretty important. They could fill those out. They could answer a census question. We have tax forms and, even some prior radio shows that they could watch and earn some, and gain some more knowledge.
Yeah, and on that website too, you can meet the team before you meet the team. So it's great that we have bios on there of everybody that's at the office, and you can get familiar with us before you even meet us, which is great.
wealthmichigan.com if you'd like to learn more about Mindy, Nolan, and the team, and McIntosh and Associates. All right, so Mindy brought up inflation, and there's no question that I think everybody's kind of feeling the squeeze of higher inflation, running at nearly a 40-year high right now. Well, Aaron Rodgers of the Packers says a lot of things that sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't, but I think he's really educated. I think he's pretty smart. And he said, politics, they're a sham. So I kind of agreed with him there, but we're going to go into the political world for just a bit here. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, he's blaming the higher prices on excessive government spending. So here's what he says. In recent months, prices on nearly everything from gas, food, and clothes to electricity, car prices, and rent have all increased, and unfortunately it's only going to get worse. Congress needs to realize that further spending at this time of rapidly rising prices is only going to continue the trend of rising prices on this nation's already vulnerable businesses and families. Mindy, your take.
Well, we for sure see it. So we see rising costs at the gas pump for food, for services that are rendered. We also have seen a huge influx of increased governmental spending. A lot of that's going to come back also not only with increased cost of goods and services, but also, paying higher taxes. So we see that on the forefront. I feel tax rates are going to go up. We're seeing it even with what we see for increases, with folks' Medicare Part B premiums. And where does all of the spending happen, and how is it trickling down to the consumer? We're not seeing their, income at their job or their career raising by the rate that we're seeing with inflation. So I definitely feel like we're in this bubble of time where we're seeing increased costs, number one, on the consumer side, and we're also going to see increased tax rates. But how does that work for those of you that are either nearing retirement, planning for retirement, or in retirement? It just means we have to be on the forefront of a holistic vision of making sure that we are creating something that can hedge and create an increasing income, or try to hedge that inflation out as you're living, maybe 30 years inside of retirement. So we have to watch for these, both leading and lagging indicators to help, serve our clients to continue to move and monitor the shifts that we're seeing. So I encourage all of you to call the office here to walk through that with us here together at 877-222-8849.
And there's no cost to chat with Mindy and the team at McIntosh & Associates, 877-222-8849. And Nolan, typically you go back before you guys were born. You guys were born barely in the 70s, but I grew up in the 70s basically. And there was very high inflation. I mean, double-digit inflation, but there were double-digit interest rates to go right along with it. So we've got the highest inflation in 40 years right now, and Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, has said, hey, we're going to raise interest rates, but they always do it like 0.25% or something. They're not going to go, well, let's go to 5% of interest rates because we're at 8% on inflation. That's not how it's going to work. But they kind of have to be ballpark, don't they? You don't want inflation to be at 10% and interest rates at 0. That doesn't work either, does it?
It doesn't, because, that's how there's fiscal policy and monetary policy. And so the monetary policy basically states that the federal government comes in and Powell being on that saying we're going to raise interest rate, it decreases the money in the system. Because we've talked about before, people think inflation is a bad thing, and it's not. Inflation actually is good for businesses. We want around that 2 to 3% inflationary rate every year. Now, we're closer to 7%. Obviously, that's out of control. So how do we cool it down? How do we control spending for these costs and goods to make that go down? And so you've had some administrators saying, it's gas and oil prices immediate control. Some have come out and said, obviously, inflation is controlled by interest rates. And some have said, like you said with the senator, that it's because governmental spending. I think it's obviously all of it. It's culminating into making these inflationary prices. But the other thing is people are still buying. It's very interesting, right? You hear about car dealerships. They can't keep cars on the lots because people are still spending the money even though they know it's overpriced what they're buying. Housing, right? Still the same thing. And so it's one of these things that if they raise interest rates, maybe it'll cool that down because people are going to start thinking, well, I'm paying more for the vehicle, but since interest rates are so low, I can take the risk. Well, if they raise interest rates, they're hoping that will cool that down. So we'll see. Usually it is 0.25%, and they came out and talked about, doing a raise in March and things of that nature. They didn't say necessarily the percentage, but you're right. Usually it's at 0.25%, and they've done it before where they did an interest rate spike, and that obviously was negative for a lot of things, particularly bond markets, things of that nature, because that drops the bottom of the price out on the bonds. And so they don't want to do that as well because then it's going to stifle the economy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, we'll see some things happening with market and with interest rates and things of that nature sooner than later.
So, Mindy, let's talk about retirement accounts. We know that we really don't want to pull money out early of a retirement account. I actually did it like 8 years ago. Got divorced. Daughter lives with me. Said, I need a house. And I pulled money out of a 401k to put the down payment there. And for the next 4 years, I think I paid taxes on that money. So maybe not the finest decision I've ever made, but that's okay. I didn't understand how this all works because I hadn't started talking to you guys about this kind of thing. So I live and learn. But Congress is considering some changes to the rules for administering, contributing to, and withdrawing from retirement accounts. Could you go over some of those in our final 3 minutes here?
Sure. So what we're really looking at is, we're seeing people that are working full-time too are more, apt to pulling or taking a hardship or withdraw from their 401ks. And you're right. Usually the amount that they've taken, when they look over time at what they've paid back in interest rates, it's only a fraction of the amount they actually withdrew. So having a plan and preparing for that's pretty important. But what's happening is some of the provisions being debated in Congress is they're looking at permitting employers to match what employees pay as their student loan debt service. So sometimes we're seeing borrowing and hardships for folks because of what they're looking at on, student loan debt. In addition to that, there could be where they're requiring employers to have existing retirement plans immediately available to new employees with an opt-out provision. So no waiting period, no timeline. They can opt out, but to have that immediate provision upon hire. And also looking at, the catch-up provisions of folks that are 50 and older. How could they increase that, making that higher for folks to actually put away more as they approach retirement because so many people just didn't plan as early as maybe they should have. So increasing that catch-up, as well as, required minimum distributions. Some folks are already drawing younger than 72 right now under the current law. But for those of folks that want to actually defer and let their account grow for longer, not have to pay taxes on that yet, or using, tax efficient strategies to do some conversions prior to that age, they're looking at pushing out, ultimately up to the age of 75 for required minimum distributions, which gives us more time to plan with clients and take a look at that, efficiency plan from taxes and just walking through next steps with them.
So it seems like we're talking, last year we talked all about taxes. So far this year it seems like we always bring up inflation. It's certainly a factor, and it's the highest we've seen in nearly 40 years. And many analysts attribute higher inflation to the trillions of dollars in government spending, certainly like we were just talking about, Nolan. So it is a factor, right? We do have to plan for these types of things.
We do. I mean, the reality is inflation never, ever sleeps, right? It doesn't stop. It's going to ramp up. It could slow down, but it's never, ever going to go away. So if we want to maintain our current standard of living in retirement, we have to understand that rising inflation can do to your retirement and how it can help protect your savings. So today, I'm offering no cost, well, Mindy and I are offering no cost obligation for retirement income analysis to see if we can hedge that inflation. We would love to be able to help you out and look at that. Very easy, and again, no obligation. Number here to get that analysis is 877-222-8849, or you can even contact us on our website at wealthmichigan.com, and Mindy and I love to be able to help you.
Hey, we got a lot to get to today with Mindy and Nolan. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. We're back right after this.
Who will help you get there? Wherever you want to go and whatever you want to do in retirement, McIntosh & Associates can help you get there. You do the dreaming, they do the planning. It's your retirement, but you need a guide. As you approach retirement, McIntosh & Associates can make sure you're on the path to retire on your terms. And once you're retired, they'll help you stay on course. Think of it as a roadmap for your retirement. The team at McIntosh & Associates wants you to have the retirement you've worked so hard for. Come in and meet with them today. They'll help you create a retirement roadmap that's tailored to your dreams, your lifestyle, and long-term financial goals. Call today at 877-222-8849 and schedule a visit. Call 877-222-8849. That's 877-222-8849. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Get started today to develop your own dream-focused wealth plan with the team at McIntosh & Associates. Schedule a complimentary first visit today. Call 877-222-8849.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Mindy McIntosh, the founder and president of McIntosh & Associates, husband Nolan, here as well. I'm Mark Elliott. Glad you're with us. If you have any questions about anything you've heard today on the program or will hear on the program, 877-222-8849. No cost for this. 877-222-8849. A lot of great information on the website. Finding out more about the team at McIntosh & Associates, but also a lot of great information on there as well. It's wealthmichigan.com, wealthmichigan.com. Well, there's a lot of studies out about all kinds of things, obviously, all the time. Well, fewer than 1 in 4 Americans think their current retirement lifestyle actually aligns with what they plan for their retirement to be like. So we've got a few sound bites in this segment and the next segment from a former professor at the University of Kansas. Dr. David Eckert taught aging and retirement at the University of Kansas for 44 years. Then he retired. So he's in retirement a couple years, and he writes an article for the Wall Street Journal. Here's what I've been doing my entire life is teaching about retirement. Now I'm in retirement, and not everything's exactly the way I was teaching it. So it's really kind of interesting. So we got some sound from him. We'll get Mindy and Nolan's take on it. And so we had a chance to hear from Dr. Eckert, and he's 2 years into his retirement. Remember, he's just taught about it for 44 years. And he said one of the biggest surprises when he got into retirement is how he feels about his use of time now.
One surprise for me is I thought that the feeling of release and freedom that I would get from retirement would come about because I was no longer externally scheduled by a job. In my case, I was a professor and I had to teach these classes and I had to attend these meetings and, in other words, meet these time commitments. But really the relaxation came from taking pressure off of myself. In order to have, as many people do, a successful career, you put pressure on yourself to attempt things and try things and learn things and go for opportunities. And when I no longer had to do that, that was the thing that really, really relaxed me. It doesn't matter now what time in the morning I start my walk or what time in the afternoon I decide to finish the crossword puzzle. Time is much less a pressing thing for me.
You know, it is interesting because I'm 62, so I'm working. That's kind of how it works. But I've got a lot of friends that were school teachers and retired in their mid-50s, late 50s, early 60s. And I have other friends that actually worked with a company that I gave them a pension. And they retired in their late 50s, early 60s. So pretty good for them, no question about it. But the challenge is I go play golf with them, but I only go pretty much on weekends because I'm working during the week. And so when I pop in there, they go, oh, I guess it's a weekend. It's like they don't even know what day it is because they're retired. And then, Mindy, I know you've heard where people go, I don't even know how I worked. I'm so busy now, I can't even keep my head. I mean, it's a different feeling. The transition may be a little bit different than expected when they get to retirement. Do you find that?
We absolutely do. So what we're seeing is some folks are very, very excited for retirement. They come in and they just cannot wait to not be encompassed by the time of either their alarm clock or the heavy demands at their career and their job. So some folks feel a little bit burdened about how much work and how much pressure is on them. So they want to be able to release that stress. Other folks just need to have some time to help a loved one. So an aging parent, generally speaking, and they can't continue to do both. Others say, I'm really, really nervous about retirement. I'm not really sure how I'm going to find the new me and what my sense of, feeling good is and what's actually going to energize me. Another category says they're going to help with grandchildren and they're, playing cards with their friends and they're doing some traveling and they have no idea, how they made time for their career. And, lastly, the next batch comes in and says, I really want to retire for any of these above reasons. And they are so worried about how are they going to pay for health insurance or health care? And how are they going to pick that plan? They've been provided it for all these years, and that just seems a little bit of a daunting task. It doesn't really matter which one of these categories you fit into. It just means that we need to sit down, design the plan, find out what works well for you, and then make sure that whatever your retirement plan and reality is, let's make sure that we're walking alongside of you, helping you as all of these changes we see happen. Market changes, what's going to happen with your income, how do we obtain and help you set up and establish your healthcare platform? Where do we walk together with drawing Social Security? And when are we going to start taking money from IRAs? And then let's make sure that we're creating your own pension in retirement. We can do so with various different vehicles. So I encourage you to either go to wealthmichigan.com and schedule a visit or call here at the office at 877-222-8849. Let's sit down for that complimentary, no obligation talk so that we can actually share ideas with you to see your next step.
So, Nolan, Dr. Eckert also went on to say that all that free time can create some conflicted feeling for retirees. And that's kind of an interesting concept. Listen.
And you think to yourself, why? Why are you doing that? So you feel, as I put it, I have two angels on my shoulder. One angel whispers in my ear, relax, take it easy. The other angel whispers in my ear, shouldn't you be doing something right now?
And I would imagine it's kind of the mindset of whomever you're sitting down with, that somebody that was always go, go, go all the time working probably is going to be a go, go, goer in retirement. Others that maybe were pretty relaxed and going, yeah, I have no problem sitting on the couch and watching TV. I mean, it's a different mindset. How challenging is that when they feel like, ooh, I'm not really accomplishing what I should, or they're comfortable with whatever they're doing? How do you look at that?
Well, that's interesting. That's what makes the world go around, is that everybody's different. People that are, like you said, that are not even like Mindy and I are different. I can sit down and watch a football game. She would watch it as she passed through the room, but she would not stop to do what, keep doing what she's doing. So I think that's an interesting concept too. What he said is, got, a devil on my shoulder saying you should be doing this, and another one saying just relax. This is what you worked for all these years. So. And part of it's, the one thing we can't get back is time. And so that's the biggest thing I think that a lot of people think about, or maybe even get anxiety about, is if I'm not doing something, am I just wasting my life away? And some people are like, man, I'm so busy. Why am I working so hard? I'm never going to get this time back to spend it with my grandkids or spend it with my kids or whatever that may be. So it has to be a personal thing. And it's hard to work through some of those things, because the issue is that if you're just always anxious about you're doing too much or not doing enough, I mean, that is something that you have to work through. And obviously time is one of those things that you do get a little bit back, obviously, when you're in those work optional years. So, yeah, I think there's a big thing to do and with that. And so whether or not we get involved with, community or church or grandkids, or whether we just want to sit down and read a book, I think it's whatever you personally need to do. But at the same time, I think it's great that if, Mindy and I can help walk through that and let you know that the one thing you don't want to worry about, right? You should have to worry about that, but not have to worry about, am I going to get a meal tomorrow, right? Things of that nature. Now, being a little facetious with that. But I'm just saying at the same time, if we have income needs met, things of that nature, it makes life a lot better.
So, Mindy, when people come in and sit down with you and your current clients already of McIntosh and Associates, you've gone through the Dream Focused Wealth Plan, right? That's your strategy to help. And it's you guys are on the same side of the table as your clients because you're not working for an insurance company. You're not working for a brokerage house. You can work in those worlds, but the market is open to you. Whatever tool makes the most sense for your clients, you can lead them in that direction and see if they're on board with it. And you come up with a plan, a strategy, the Dream Focused Wealth Plan. So what goes into a strategy to help maybe to turn someone's ideas and dreams about retirement into reality?
Well, and a lot of times too, even, as you said, hey, if clients have been here for a while and they're coming in for reviews, it doesn't matter then so much on, what's going on currently with the changes, because as they come in, we've already built a very well-established relationship. We have a rock-solid program for them. They have built trust. We have trust in them. They have trust in us. They lean on us for our education and our advice to help them walk through the next steps and continue to rebalance, adjust, and take the appropriate steps when they need it. So what really has to happen when we're looking at the Dream Focused Wealth Plan and we're making sure, that you're comfortable and have control of your retirement dreams to turn them into reality, we really start with building a plan. So we sit and discover and find out what's important to you, what is your goals, what are the timeline, and what does your health look like? So as we look at that and see what they like to do for hobbies, we must create a budget or a plan of what does their expenses look like today. We can then filter in inflation and take a look at current, but we want to know what in their mind are they feeling like they're spending now, and what are some of their upcoming hobbies? Because if they now have more time in retirement, they may actually be spending more time while you're feeling well, still in your go-go years, to do things now prior to getting older. Then we go ahead and walk through and we kind of layer through and look at risks posing threat to their retirement. Have they saved enough? What does inflation look like? Are they in their 60s and still having a way too high amount of risk in the market? Do we need to reduce that by taking a look at risk numbers and doing a spectrum there? And then are they going to receive a pension? And what does their Social Security numbers look like? So we can actually utilize a portion of retirement assets to create a guaranteed increasing income stream in retirement. And that also will help to hedge the skyrocketing costs of healthcare. So we can layer in what is their health plan going to look like? What is their prescription routine and medical routine? What does it look like they're going to be spending? How much are they traveling? So that we can create the income in retirement, look at, an adjustment of what's happening with their investments and their risk so they're comfortable. Everything is well monitored and balanced. So that balanced approach works very well. And then we can take a look at their tax plan and what's happening as it approaches tax time versus the end of the year. So in reality, we would like to provide those of you listening a complimentary analysis. There's no obligation to do this. We can get an income or retirement analysis in your hands. Call here at 877-222-8849 or stop by the office. Just visit with the Upfront team. See if it's a good feel for you. And, don't delay. I would say that by waiting, the hard time is time passes us by very quickly. And we want to make sure that you don't outlive your funds and your money, because a lot of times that's people's biggest fear. They just want to live comfortably. They don't want to worry about it in retirement. And, they can leave the rest to us with that.
Again, the numbers, 877-222-8849, 877-222-8849, no cost, no obligation. So what happens if one spouse retires early, the next spouse retires a year or two later? How do we get together here? We're going to talk about that when we come back. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Mindy and Nolan back right after this.
Of all the questions you get asked every day, this is one you shouldn't ignore. How much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Not what its current value is, but how much of it will end up in your pocket, not the government's. Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. Make sure you aren't overpaying. Keep every dollar you're entitled to. Look, I know it's confusing, it's complicated, and it's definitely not fun. That's why at McIntosh & Associates, we work with tax professionals to help make sure you aren't paying more in taxes than your fair share. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Call our team at McIntosh and Associates today. Get started. 877-222-8849. 877-222-8849. Don't do the IRS any favors. 877-222-8849. Firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Schedule your complimentary first visit with the McIntoshes right now. Call 877-222-8849. That's 877-222-8849.
Glad you're with us today for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. You can always go to the website to find out more, wealthmichigan.com. They're here to help guide you, direct you if you have some questions or concerns about where you are on your road to retirement. When can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last as long as I do? Really big questions. And the idea is you need a plan so that you can move forward into retirement with some confidence and clarity. It doesn't guarantee that everything's going to be perfectly smooth because things happen, right? The idea is, though, you have a plan: income, investment, taxes, healthcare, estate planning, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare. There's a lot of moving parts, and the Dream Focused Wealth Plan at McIntosh & Associates will walk you through all of that. If you'd like to learn more, it's 877-222-8849, 877-222-8849. And I always encourage you to check out the website. Kind of do your own research, if you will. Go to the website. Find out more about Mindy and Nolan and the team. There's webinars. There's all kinds of stuff on there. wealthmichigan.com, wealthmichigan.com. We've got some sound from a professor, a retired professor at the University of Kansas. He spent over 4 decades teaching aging and retirement at the University of Kansas. Then he's 2 years into retirement, and he writes an article with the Wall Street Journal about, here's what I've taught, here's where when I'm actually retired. And he wasn't like he was way off or anything, but he goes, it is a little bit different than what we think about retirement and then the reality of retirement. It's Dr. David Eckert. So we're playing some sound bites from him as well. And he says one of the many factors we have to consider when it comes to retirement is not only how we will spend our time, but what happens if we have a spouse who is retiring with us.
You know, I married him for better or worse, but not for lunch.
You know, Nolan, because, our parents and maybe definitely our grandparents, typically it was dad goes off to work, mom stays home with the kids. Mm-hmm. And so mom's home all the time. And then dad comes in, and now all of a sudden they're both retired. We've got some issues because we've kind of staked out where we are in this world. And so I imagine you have some clients, though, at McIntosh and Associates where they both can't wait to retire, and they want to retire at the same time, jump in an RV and travel the world, whatever it is, right? But then you have some that maybe one spouse retires, and then the other spouse is a year or two behind in their retirement. There's some dynamics here you've got to probably work through, I would imagine.
There is, and that's the interesting part is that we see it all the time, is that we'll see it sometimes where the spouse will retire and then the other will retire sooner than they thought because the other one's enjoying themselves so much. So that's fun too to watch. But that's what we love to do, is be able to help them through that and say, yeah, you both can retire at the same time if you'd like to. But I think there is definitely an emotional change there, because even here at work, Mindy and I obviously work together, and we don't see that much of each other even when we're in the same office. And so it's one of those things that it changes the dynamic when you're with that person all the time. And it's interesting, my brother now, they're empty nesters, and it's changed for them because now they're not running kids all over the place and things like that. So even with them in their working years, their dynamic has changed. So I think that's something you have to work through, and obviously we hope that it doesn't turn out the opposite way where the couple doesn't like each other anymore. But it's one of those things that you learn to grow with each other, and that's what's phenomenal about it, is that you have that time to be able to do that. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, is that yes, time and money and things of that nature are important, but also, that relationship with your partner is a big deal that you're going to have to deal with when you hit those retirement years.
So Dr. Eckert went on to say that in his research of how people act in retirement and how they adapt to retirement, Mindy, he found that there really aren't any serious effects on a marriage in most situations.
People really actually look forward to retirement as a time that they can finally spend together after decades of raising children and marching off to work. Now they can enjoy one another together and engage in activities that they would like to explore.
So there are certainly some challenges to this different dynamic when you're retired. And I don't know, Mindy, we don't really have to be on the exact same page. You've got to kind of be in the same ballpark. I would think communication is the key.
Communication, I feel, is always key. And that way it gives the, husband and wife time to spend together, of course. So, maybe they both enjoy sitting, together and talking in the morning while having a cup of coffee. And in nice weather here in Michigan, maybe, we have a lot of folks that sit out then on their back porch and talk about what they want to do about their day, or reminisce about times, or talk about their grandchildren. And they didn't have time in the hustle and bustle of, everyday working life. So we're seeing a lot of folks do that. And, some enjoy reading or woodworking, gardening, crafting. And so they start to decide who enjoys doing what. And they really our clients seem to feel like these are the time of the day that they're doing things together. And there's also times of the day that they're, maybe the gentleman's gone off ice fishing and the wife is going to lunch with some girlfriends. And, so you really can see that it's okay to be different, right? But they can find their common ground of what are they enjoying doing together, a little bit more relaxed, and, maybe can feel good.
And we talk all the time about, the income and the investments and taxes and healthcare and estate planning, all those kind of things that we really need to understand as much as we can. But really, we need to make sure that we're going to be okay if we retire. And so this is a part that you cannot overlook, and it's the dynamics of retirement. You don't have to do the same things all the time. I mean, I, for example, would love to go play golf. If I was married, she could go off to Broadway in New York City and watch plays with her friends. That would be fine. But you do have to communicate. And Nolan and Mindy can walk you through some of the challenges. They've been doing this for a long time. Mindy started the company back in 2004. So they know some of the challenges that happen in this situation. And we know there are more, they call them silver divorces, than ever before. And that's because I think people just want to go do their own thing. So the idea is that we want to be on the same page, at least where we can still be good, right? I mean, Mindy and Nolan can help walk you through all of these challenges. There's no question. If you have concerns, and we all get caught up in the money. It's all about the money. Well, no, it's not. It's more than just the money. It's also about your relationships, and Mindy and Nolan are here to help guide you a little bit if needed. 877-222-8849. Again, no cost for this. 877-222-8849. And Mindy, Nolan, you can pipe in on this as well, because I think it's kind of an interesting question. Is that you have certainly where you work with married couples, but you also work with widows or widowers or divorced people or single people. What are the challenges and the differences maybe of setting up the dream-focused wealth plan for an individual versus a couple?
So I actually work with a lot of women in retirement, whether they were single, widowed, or divorced. I feel like as a woman in this industry, they feel much more comfortable talking to a woman. And sometimes that's from having a couple that had been our clients for a number of years, and the husband passed away, and now we're working with that woman. But a lot of times it's just gauging and helping women to meet them where they're at so that they can feel comfortable, whether they are the ones, more taking over now and the husband was more in charge, or they'd been single all their life. It is definitely a different type of meeting and a different situation when we're just talking and walking through that with either the now widowed spouse or with her as an individual. Now, if we're working with folks that are husband and wife, and maybe the wife isn't as engaged along with the planning, when something happens to the husband, they know that they can rely on us so that we can walk through. There's definitely a variety of things that need to happen, especially upon that initial onset. We have forms and documents that we literally walk through, not only helping, as we talked about, not only helping with the money and the financial side, but deeds to your home and what needs to happen on household and what type of utility bills to change. So that's just a faucet of looking at, what actually happens on the forefront versus if you're just coming here for the first time as a single or widowed woman, we are going to walk through the same process with you. We want to know your hopes, your dreams, your concerns, what you're worried about, what your goals are, and how we can walk through that together. I love working with women. I see then a lot of times your hopes and dreams and desires and hobbies, it makes it pretty relatable, and we can walk through what's important to you. The biggest thing, generally speaking, is a solid income plan for you to be able to do the things that are important to you, whether it's being with loved ones, helping with grandkids, hanging out with maybe your sisters or friends. And how do we help you get through inflation and tax times and manage and do updates to your healthcare? That Dream Focused Wealth Plan stays the same. We just might talk about some different topics with you and how we are going to walk through that as far as your benefits go today and what does that look like 10 or 20 years from now, and just monitor it and make sure that we're looking at what's going to be the very best for you, and uncover too any risks or any threats in your retirement plan, and how we can kind of plug and help you with those holes and monitor and walk alongside you. So go to our website at wealthmichigan.com. Take a look there. For those of you women listening too, there's some really, really nice books out there that we have for women specifically that, if you kind of fit the mold and I feel that you're going to want to be doing some reading, they might fit in very, very well to some thoughts that you might have had.
877-222-8849. Of course, wealthmichigan.com, and Mindy just mentioned, but you can also call them as well. Single, divorced, widowed, widowers, married. Hey, everybody's situation is different. And Mindy and Nolan and the team at McIntosh and Associates are here to walk you through, maybe ease some of your concern, give you some clarity headed forward. It's 877-222-8849. 877-222-8849. Our final segment up next. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes.
To learn more about the team at McIntosh & Associates, check out their website anytime at wealthmichigan.com. That's wealthmichigan.com.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Mindy McIntosh, the founder and president of McIntosh & Associates, started the company in 2004. Husband Nolan, he's kind of in the market world. Mindy helps you in the safe areas, the income and life and Medicare and all those kind of things, and they really team beautifully together. And they're here to help you come up with your plan, which is at McIntosh & Associates is called the Dream Focused Wealth Plan. The number, if you'd like to sit down and chat with them, it's 877-222-8849. There's no cost, no obligation, no pressure, no judgment either. 877-222-8849. You can always find out more, some great information on the website, wealthmichigan.com. Wealthmichigan.com. Nolan, as we wrap up, usually Mindy and I chat for this final 5 minutes of the show, but I thought it'd be kind of fun for you because you're the market guru. And this could probably play at any time because the markets are volatile. Sometimes they're always going up, and then sometimes they're going down. And then we're on the longest bull run in Wall Street history, and then the pandemic hit, and we had a short downturn, 34% or something in like a 5-week period, but it came back much quicker because it was an outside entity that caused that downturn in the markets. Well, we got volatility back again, and a lot of people get scared because we're close to retirement, and they're like, well, I can't afford to lose any money, so I've got to go all to cash. Well, then we always miss out on the kickback, the comeback of the markets. How do you look at all this market volatility going on right now?
Well, we look at it, and again, this is why we are so pressed on people coming in, and we have a nice schematic that we show when we sit down for the first time with prospects, and we continually show our current clients, how Mindy and I look at things from a picture, and if we can visualize this in our mind, we usually have income on the right on the schematic and then investments on the left, and we tell people our income should be our steady eddies that should be satisfying our flow for, groceries and food and gas and dining out and things of that nature. And then, your investment side of it, that's your wants, your vacations, your new car, your another house, some things of that nature. And so wants versus needs, that's how we separate them. And so that's why when we set up our Dream Focused Wealth Plan, the important piece of that puzzle is that you don't care what the markets are doing. We've had, a couple clients call lately, and they're like, Nolan, you're probably really busy answering all these phone calls with all the volatility you've seen in the market. And I'm like, no, we don't have a lot of people that call us because they know the plans in place that they don't have to worry about what the market's doing because they know their income is set for life, and that they don't have to worry about what the markets are doing because they don't have to worry that, if they're drawing from it, that's going to go down when they're drawing from on the market. So, but getting back to the market itself, this is what it does. A lot of people don't realize this because they don't watch it. I mean, my job is to watch the market and obviously service our clients the best to our knowledge and do what we're supposed to do. But it's one of those things too that 80% of the time you're going to win, 20% of the time you're going to lose. If you go to the casino, unless you're counting cards, right? If you go to the casino, it's a 50-50 chance. A lot of people love to go to the casino. you literally have a better chance in the market of winning than you do at the casino. If you're counting cards, you actually get it 1% better. So you're a 49% chance. But that's the point, is that we never want to pull in and pull out of the market, because people have tried, hedge fund managers, these guys that control pensions, that have billions of dollars in assets. Their job is they literally get performance fees to beat the market. And these people are not the ones that, if you look at a hedge fund manager from year to year, the guy that won it in 2020 isn't the same guy that won it in 2021. He won't be the same guy that wins it in 2022. So if they can't do it and they get paid to do it, a performance fee, why would we want to try and do that as an investor? We want to try and benchmark, and we want to try and look at some things. We want to make sure our risk is aligned with where we need to be. And so that's why when we sit down with clients, I say, we should not have an emotional response one way or the other. If we're getting an emotional response because we're seeing too much volatility in your portfolio, then we need to de-risk. If we're getting an emotional response because you don't feel like you're earning enough, that's too conservative. We need to obviously change your risk from that perspective. So we need to find that sweet spot, and that's the important piece, is that we do not sit there and do cookie cutter type of portfolio mixtures. We do it based on what the client's needs are and what their risk score. We use a program called Riskalyze to come up with a risk score for that individual or that couple, and then that helps us kind of piecemeal together the portfolio mixtures that we need to come with, so that way we can best serve our clients. So again, no obligation, no cost. Give us a call at 877-222-8849. The time to do it is now. The difference between a dream and reality is action. So if we take that call, or if you visit our website, that'd be great. If we'd be able to see you, we'd love to be able to serve you here at the office.
McIntosh & Associates Incorporated is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM. AEWM and McIntosh & Associates Incorporated are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. McIntosh & Associates Incorporated is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by McIntosh & Associates Incorporated.